Hello, everybody. This is your Right Geek, honorary man king, and leader of the Awkward Cough Squad. Here to share with you a little bit of news that I'm actually really super excited about. And this is covering the new Captain America Iron Man team up miniseries that is coming out starting at the end of November. So we have this article here from Sci-Fi Wire, which, I mean, yeah, usually Access Media sucks, but I think that this article is really darn good and really promising. So I'm just going to read this article to you, just sort of explain to you what makes me excited about this and why I think you guys in the audience need to be excited about this as well. All right, so we have Captain America / Iron Man scribe on getting Steve Rogers and Tony Stark to quit bickering and play nice. Wait. Are we about to get a comic that actually explores their friendship? Yes, we are. They say two of Marvel's biggest heroes are joining forces for a new comic miniseries events, and Sci-Fi Wire caught up with the writer behind the project to dig into why and how you team up a couple of the publisher's biggest heroes in Captain America / Iron Man. The new miniseries hits shelves on November 24th and is written by Derek Landy, with art from Angel Unzueta and colors by Rochelle Rosenberg. The story kicks off with a prison break that brings the two heroes together and ramps up when Steve Rogers and Tony Stark realize they share a connection with one particular prisoner now on the loose. So here's one key part right here. This is Landy discussing why he decided to write this series. So it says here, so what drove Landy to want to mash up these two heroes? He says he took a deep dive into the Marvel Omnibus editions, reliving the history of heroes like Spider-Man, Thor, Fantastic Four, and the Avengers, rediscovering those worlds at his kitchen table to revisit those stories in history. What he found was that he didn't know those old stories quite as well as he thought, which turned into the perfect primer for a throwback team-up for two Marvel greats. He says, all of these stories that I technically knew, had absorbed by osmosis, or had just seen retold and reimagined down the line, I was now reading for myself, he told Sci-Fi Wire. I didn't know it at the time, as I made my way through the first Iron Man and Captain America adventures, but this was actually very diligent research I was conducting. And so when I got the chance to team up Tony and Steve, I drew very heavily on all that stuff. Okay, so any of you who have been following this channel for a while, I'm sure, are quite aware that I love the Silver and Bronze Age stuff, especially for Iron Man. And in fact, in a lot of the streams here with Number One Marmaduke Fan, when we talk about Iron Man, I usually pull an old Iron Man comic from the 60s and 70s or 80s, or one time I pulled one from the 90s as well. But mostly the old stuff I pull to sort of compare to what's coming out now. And you may have noticed that I have a lot of enthusiasm for these old comics. Strong amounts of enthusiasm. So the fact that Landy read these old comics and then said to himself, you know what, there's material here that I can pull for my story, that gives me a huge amount of hope. If he's using the old comics to inspire this story, chances, I think, are excellent that we're going to get a story here that I'm going to love, and any of you out there who also enjoy the old Silver and Bronze Age comics, I think you might like this story as well. So that was the first thing that really excited me about this article. Then down here a little bit further, we talk about something else that Landy had in his head as he was writing the story. So the article says here, though fans familiar with Steve Rogers and Tony Stark's relationship in stories like Civil War might expect the duo to be trading blows before the arc comes to an end, Landy said he found it more interesting to dig into what brings them together and makes them allies through decades of Marvel comics. Sure, they've heads. But they have to have a few things in common, right? Yes, thank you. One of the things that has gotten rather tiresome in more recent comics is it all goes back to what I've said in some streams here, that Marvel basically learned the wrong lessons from the good sales that came from Civil War. Instead of realizing that Civil War was essentially a once in a lifetime event that probably couldn't be repeated, they decided that what the fans really want is for characters like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark to always be at odds with each other. And so we have this obsession in the recent comics with always putting them into conflict with each other. And that's unfortunate because if you go back through comics history, their relationship isn't all about conflict. Okay, they have and do disagree with each other in the more historic comics, but they also have this very deep and intimate friendship that it's deep enough, as I've said in other streams, that when Tony was off on one of his alcoholic benders and his employees basically had to go search for him to prevent. They needed his signature so that they could prevent Obadiah Stane from taking over Tony's company. Who did they ask to go look for him? Well, they asked Steve Rogers. Why? Because they're best friends forever, right? So the stories recently that focus on how much they quote unquote hate each other really don't capture the full depth of this relationship. They don't in fact hate each other. They have disagreements with each other, some very serious disagreements and a lot of interpersonal drama, but they are also men who are brothers in arms in the truest sense. And even though they disagree with each other, they have also had this very deep and very intimate history as friends as well. So I am very happy that Landy is saying here that what he wants to explore is what made them friends to begin with, because that's something that I think has been missing from a lot of the recent comics. As he says, the natural instinct for a writer would be to immediately put them at loggerheads. Nothing generates drama better than tension, after all, Landy said. But Tony just wants to protect people, and Steve is one of the kindest characters in comics. So I pretty much embraced the opportunity to step away from the tension and explore that friendship. Yes, thank you. This is something that we really, 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 really want. It's something that's really been lacking in modern comics. So I'm glad that Landy is trying to bring this back. And he says here, Landy noted these two heroes have decades of connections to mine, and even looking at their ongoing and recent Marvel Comics history, he found a through line to tell a story about two friends leaning on one another as they process the personal trauma with one of their few friends who can actually understand what they've been through. What people need to see right now is two old friends helping each other come to terms with some pretty major upheaval in each of their lives. Tony's still coming to terms with who he is ever since he returned, and Steve has unresolved issues from Secret Empire. So Landy is going to address Secret Empire, and he's going to address some of the recent canon for Tony too. And I'm really looking forward to this as well, because again, the indications here are that Landy has been reading the old comics, so I think we're going to get a comic that actually does the characterization correctly for both Tony and Steve. Those of you out there who are big Captain America fans and have been lamenting the fact that Captain America has essentially disappeared since he was shot in the head in Civil War. And then those of you out there who are big Tony fans and have been lamenting that Tony has disappeared ever since he erased his own brain at the beginning of Matt Fraction's run. This might be the series that will bring both of those characters back, at least for the duration of this series. So I'm very excited about it. I think you guys should be excited about it too. And oh, by the way, it looks like they have a good art team on this book as well. We've got Alex Ross on the covers. And I love Alex Ross. I love Alex Ross's covers. They're always good. But it looks like this interior art looks pretty excellent as well, as you can see. So we might get a twofer here, something that has good writing and good art, which, at least for me, looking for Iron Man material, that's been very hard for me to find. So yeah, again, I'm excited about this. I want you guys to be excited about this too. So that's why I've opened up this stream to let you know that this is coming on November 24th. Get ready when it comes. I'm probably going to be talking about it a lot because it sounds like it's going to be really exciting. It's something that's really up my alley. Hopefully you guys will pick up this book and will be able to discuss it with me as well. Anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble on about this upcoming series that I'm really excited about. If you have any thoughts or questions about this series, you can comment below. Thank you for listening, and I will speak to you later.